Hi everyone, happy Sunday. Technically it's like 2 a.m., so would that would actually be Monday morning for maybe some people, depending where you are in the world. But I was like listening to something, and then I suddenly felt like I should come do a reading. But before I start the actual reading, um I did also feel led to talk about a little bit. So, like, the three highest vibrations that there are, like, if you look at a scale of different emotions and vibrations, the highest of them is love, gratitude, and also forgiveness, right? And so, like, I'm a really emotional person, and so sometimes I do have some mental illness that goes on sometimes. And part of my mental illness involves a lot of emotional deregulation, right? And so, like, sometimes my emotions get into a storm that I can't stop. And so sometimes, uh even though, like, regardless of what anybody thinks about the things that happen during those situations, I think somewhere in that, there's that saying that where there's smoke, there's fire. And somewhere in those situations, it's like at the start of it, there is a seed of something that's happened that's made me feel like I need to walk away from this person to put distance between us so that I can, because I can, I'm not going to be able, like, when I reach that level, because look, even though I'm a Virgo, I have Sagittarius both in my moon and my rising, right? And I also have a lot of other fire placements in very important places in my birth chart, right? So I do have like a lot of this fire in me, but I also have my Virgo earth energy, right? So I get like that stubborn fire. So it's like, um, when I'm first upset, I need to just go and have time. And time is not going to be like 5 minutes or a few hours. It could possibly be a few hours if I'm like feeling really pressed to salvage something. But sometimes it may be a few weeks or a few months, I guess, depending on the severity, right? In a few cases, it's been a few years, you know. But what I've done the past few years is like when I feel myself in one of my cycles and I feel like I really like, especially like, so part of some of my cycles will have me purging friends lists in various places because a lot of my friends lists that I have in different areas of social media will quickly start building up these long friends lists, right? Of all these people that I just don't regularly talk to and or know. Like, for example, there's a lot of people on my Facebook friends list who are from the days when we used to play all the little games and apps, and I don't know any of these people, right? Or but even on like my Discord, a lot of people are like people that I met doing clubbing in Final Fantasy 14. So and so there's a lot of people who will be in my list who I don't actually don't have regular interaction with. you know they're just acquaintances. They're people I barely know. And when we stay connected to people like that, that is an energetic cord. We're sharing energy. That's an energy exchange with somebody, right? So, and these days I'm really really intentional about how I'm using my energy. So, yeah, Mimi's over here. She just wants to be loved on, guys. Sorry. While I'm talking, she's like, only talk to me. She's like, me, love me, love me, only me. Mimi's his best girl. Meow. So, but anyways, so like when I go through these things, something I've started doing as well is like right after a purge, and I've like removed, detached from what feels like energy drains that I feel led at the time to let go of, you know? then I may actually go back to situations that I've had in the past and find where I maybe need to heal these, you know? And by healing them, sometimes it does result in reconciliation, and sometimes it's just an acknowledgement, you know? Like anybody who's ever had a substance abuse problem in the past, and you go through a 12-step program and how they have that system where you just reach out to people who you've inadvertently dragged into your ish, you know, and you let them know, like, hey, you know, I really messed up back then, you know, this is what I was going through, and I did this because of this. And we don't tell you the reasons. It's not an excuse or an attempt to justify. It's just hopefully maybe you'll understand, you know. But the admission is the taking account. Now I know like a lot of people will say, oh, well, if you're really taking account, you should also seek to make amends. But you know, there are a lot of situations, you know, and sometimes depending what's been said or done in the moment, sometimes those things can't be undone. And sometimes it's like, well, you know, the offending party probably can't know what it is that the person who feels hurt needs done in order to absolve those feelings, you know? And that's not to take away the responsibility of the person who needs to make amends, but I feel like as people need to do a better job of also letting other people know, like, if you want to make amends and come back, this is what I need from you, you know? If at the end of the day they still can't do that, then it just is what it is, you know? We'll just, you know, forgiveness doesn't always mean presence, right? So that doesn't always necessarily mean there will be uh, harmony and uh, togetherness in the future. It just means that we're releasing and letting go of the past, you know? And so I just wanted to talk about that because I feel like coming into this reading, this is a reading that was going to be about repair. But this door, I was gonna shuffle for these doors, and this one fell out, so I was gonna keep it. And it says, "Distant dream, the distance calls for your heart to roam free, and as you dare dream it, so must it be." Um, you know, and I feel like this reading is specifically for people who are like me, who, you know, if you've been through some storms in your life, either in recent weeks, months, or years, you know, and maybe you've done purging and walking away from people and things that no longer serve you, but you also want to, like, now you're also stopping and saying, well, you know, there were these people that I had value with, and things did get a little sideways, but I'd really like to see if we can maybe heal this connection, you know, because I feel like something in here feels like unfinished business, and I'd really like to go and see if there's any potential for repair, you know, and so we can have conversations, you know, because so often in today we'll talk about, you know, and I'm really big on this as well, is that, you know, when we talk about, you know, everybody's quick to say, oh, these people need to get therapy, these people need to get help, these people need to be accountable, but nobody ever gives people space to actually heal and improve unless they're doing it instantly on the time frame that somebody else wants them to, right? um and unfortunately I feel like that's just something in society right now, so I feel led to bring this doorway, which is like the row of arches, and this doorway is called patience. It says everything will soon come to light, and then you will see that things will be all right. So, yeah, which I feel like that's such a great message, right? Because we're talking about healing and repairing. like finding some connections that we had to walk away from, but some time has passed and perhaps some things have changed. Maybe there's somebody coming in from your past who wants to come and try to mend things. So we're looking at, Holy Spirit, please just guide me that, like, as we talk about, like, past situations or past energies, whether they're ours or somebody else's coming back, that we're just really looking at, what's meant for us. So we have this doorway, which is all light. And this one is a moment's joy. And it says, stand through the hourglass, yet time could stand still. A moment lasts forever in the bliss of a heart's will. So, already this feels like healing a connection where there was a connection that was like really giving somebody a lot of joy that felt like a dream. But when everything started getting weird, it made somebody feel like, they weren't sure if they should stick around or what should go on. And it was a situation that required patience. But I do find, like, especially not just twin flames, but any kind of soulmate situation where people are like the mirrors that help us purge and grow, especially if you're in your dark night of the soul and or doing your shadow work where you're healing your old stuff, So sometimes we may run into energies that are, and so, like, do we wait on it? And I personally feel like if you're not sure if you should wait or not, I feel like for everybody and even every connection, it may be different. And I feel like what you should probably actually do is take some time to consider, well, how do you really feel about this? If you feel like you can't let it go because you're too attached, then maybe what you need to focus on isn't that person. You need to look at the attachment you have to that person and look at that and go and meditate on what is it that's in this attachment that I feel so attached that I actually can't walk away. Like, what does this mean to me? Like, what is this value here? Am I valuing this person? Am I giving them a value and then putting them on a pedestal? Is this more than I value myself? And these are just questions you can just ask yourself, because that's part of what doing shadow work is. And so we have vulnerability. Yeah. So I do feel like vulnerability is actually really important. If there is, whether you're the person who needs to go and mend the relationship and or somebody's coming to mend with you, a really important attribute or quality for making successful repairs is going to be vulnerability. If the other person in a situation isn't willing to have any vulnerability, it's going to be really hard to heal that, How can you heal something? Because if there's no vulnerability at all, that means that other person is just in their ego. And if you have another person that you're dealing with who's stuck in their ego, then I would not wait. In the patience part, I think the wise thing to do is to walk away first, like stop and go inward to look at yourself with this attachment and work on detaching from that person and then doing other things that are going to be good for you. Because like when you look at patience and relationships, sometimes that could be a few weeks, it could be a few months, but it could be years before that person turns around, right? And especially like if they're dealing with other people, sometimes I hear these different readings around YouTube and you'll hear about, well, this person's still like dealing with this karmic person, and especially like if you're dealing with somebody who's involved with a karmic, And especially where they may have children and are going to a divorce, and or you like your person with somebody who has substance abuse problems and they're still working through that. Like, all of these things are not things that are going to most of these things do not resolve overnight. They're going to need anywhere from a few months to a few years, right? Well, that's a lot. All that time you're waiting there, you can actually be doing lots of stuff to work on yourself, right? You can pour in that time that you, even if you want to wait, that's time that you can be like developing you. So I just want to encourage people to like, um, you know, don't be afraid to walk away and do what's good for you, you know. And walking away doesn't have to be forever. You know, when the time is right, then it'll come back around, you know. And then you can look at and see, and like, is this person still in their ego? Am I being too much in my ego? You know, because sometimes we're the problem too, you know. Sometimes we are. Sometimes I am, for sure. I have this calm surrender, but it's like upside, it's reversed. So it's like either you or this other party that you need to mend things with, somebody is either surrendering it but not calmly, or they're calmly refusing to surrender something, which is may have to do with this vulnerability, you know, because we see this vulnerability out here, right? Bless you. Or maybe it was this momentary moment of joy that was vulnerable, and they felt like they were in a moment of calm surrender, but that moment's already passed. And so, like, now they're not in this calm surrender anymore. So I feel like there was a moment, and maybe it was missed because I don't know, maybe, you know what? It could always be like this other person needed to communicate that they were even having that. You know, we're not always mind readers. We can't always be expected to know what everybody needs all the time. It's just not like that. It's not how it works. If you're a grown person and want a relationship, then you need to learn how to open your adult mouth, and express your adult needs, you know, or whatever needs. I don't want to say adult needs to make it sound like not safe for work things, but you know, like whatever you need from somebody, you need to be able to communicate. How are you going to go forward and have a successful relationship with somebody if you can't tell them what you need them to give you, right? All right. So when I feel led to take this, the dreamer. So we have the free spirit, leap of faith, ready for a new journey of self-discovery. And I feel like collective, whoever you are, you're ready to take this new journey, right? So like if this other person isn't ready to go with you, then just forgive and release, and you can go take this journey. And unfortunately, they will not be able to go with you at this time. And that's sad, you know. I'm sure you would have wanted to bring them with you. You know, that's, you know, unfortunately, not everybody that we want to come with us can come with us. I don't know why this deck is so bent in the middle, right? One more, and then I'm going to swap to this other deck. Overwhelmed. Okay. So you may be feeling overwhelmed right now, but I feel like this still goes back to the idea of this patience, and maybe that moment of joy didn't last long enough to make you really feel relieved. This ego, with it in the reverse, I do feel like this is the other person. Yeah, this is this other person who's in their ego, and they're really struggling with this surrendering because, you know, yeah. And so, like, you need to move on in the meantime, okay? Because whenever you're in a power struggle with somebody else's ego, you're never going to win. Yeah, see? And this is you wanting to resurrect these connections that were broken, which is fine, but you know, if they're not ready for it, then they're just not ready for it, right? I mean, we can't force anyone to be ready for anything that they're not ready for. You know, if they're like not there, then they're just not there, dudes, you know. And we just have to accept that, you know. It's not always easy to accept that, and that's okay. Right, Mimi? Mm-hmm. Love you. Mimi's over here supervising this raid. You know, sometimes, you know, repairing is just about bringing love into a situation, you know. And, you know, just because you try to repair doesn't mean the repairs will always be successful. But at least you try, you know. And I think that's good. It's healthy, you know. At least trying to repair, the part of that you need to look at is that your heart won't be burdened with regret and, oh, what if I should have said this or I should have done that. You know, attempting to repair gives you a window that you can still say or do those things that your heart feels like maybe you should have done this differently, you know. And you can always say that too. Like if you're not prepared to say everything and be 100% vulnerable at the start, especially if you're dealing with somebody who was in their ego, take it little by little. Say like, you know, can we just talk about blah, blah, blah? Some people may shoot it down if they're not open to it, you know, because some people want to control everything. If you're trying to engage with somebody who's trying to control all of it and not, you know, if they're more concerned about control and or winning than having an understanding between you, then don't continue pushing or chasing for that reconciliation, you know, because you're not going to heal something while somebody else is being in their ego and want to control everything. Both parties have to have a willingness to calmly surrender what happened in the past and start off on a new journey together, you know. And if you want to have that new journey with anybody, whether it's a past or new person, you know, they can't be trying to dominate your will and or how everything goes, you know, because that's trying to have too much control is somebody who's still in their who needs to do their shadow work and heal their ego. Maybe not get rid of the ego, but they need to heal it because they've been wounded and they're still too wounded to proceed in the situation, you know. Hey, I mean, we've all been there, right? And that person needs to like come get their spiritual work. Mimi, no, stop laying out the illumination. Yeah, so see, I feel like this is gonna. Sorry, I love you, but don't lay all over the cards, dude. Jeez, you guys, I'm talking about somebody like not exerting the control and trying to dominate everything, and here comes Mimi to like dominate this desktop. She does that lately sometimes. She does that with my keyboard. She'll like wanna, while I'm working, she'll like wanna come over here and be like, hey, you don't need to work. You just need to pet me. Oh, her. Alright. So Holy Spirit, are there any other messages for us that are about this healing and soul follow through? Yeah. This person that you want to heal things with, they're lacking some follow through. Or maybe you're lacking some follow through. Yeah. But you're seeking this liberation. So maybe it's like there's a part of you that still feels, it's like maybe there's some part of you that still feels like you're still stuck in that situation, you know? And you just can't move on because like something was left unsaid or done in a way that makes you feel like you have unfinished business, you know, and you need to address it. If this person still won't talk to you or be open to it, I personally recommend writing a letter. Write them a letter, you know, mail it, you know. It's not going to be a back and forth, but it'll allow you to still express what you wanted to express from your heart, you know. Whoa. All right. We have the body. So I feel like, well, you know, when we hold on to these kind of feelings, they do get trapped in our bodies, So we need to find a way to release so that way, we can heal the body. Yeah. So it's having beliefs and expectations. These came out, so we would definitely want to work on your vibration, work on maintaining a high vibration, the path. So I feel like, maybe this other person, since they're going through their ego death, they're being woken up to the path, and they need to take this to prosper, okay? Whether they do this or not, it's neither your fault or your business. That's really this. Each one of us have the journey to take, and that's all we can do. But whoever this connection is for you, I feel like they're not meant to be on your path at this time. And if you try to force it before it's time, it's not going to prosper, okay? So this prosper, I feel like this particular connection that you're thinking about healing, it's not going to prosper if you force it, because the timing of this is this person's path, and it's you're just somebody who's on their path right now. So and if that's the case, it's probably really important for them that they're the one healing it. Yeah, because there needs to be a willingness, right? And at the bottom, we have adapting. So I believe you're in a season right now that's calling for you to kind of go with the flow. So maybe this person will be around in your energy, and you can have these conversations. And maybe writing the letter is a good way to start, and or send them a message, Be like, can we maybe just sit down and talk about this? Maybe tell someone, especially word it with, I'd like to repair this, And or if there's a part in it that they feel like you need to owe them an explanation for, and or an apology, but just say, I want to heal this. It's really in my heart, and I feel like I don't want to just leave it undone like this, So that's all we have for you tonight. Hope everybody has a great work week. Happy May. It was May the 4th be with you, right? And then tomorrow will be Cinco de Mayo. So happy Taco Mondays if you guys are going to go, or, if you're celebrating that. So have a great evening, guys. Love you. Oh yeah, and if you want to share, subscribe. I also offer personal readings if you want to buy them through my Ko-fi or Etsy. Thank you. Have a good night.